What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have another Magic the Gathering deck profile, I guess. Today is my Yarok, the Descrated, I guess, landfall / ETB effect deck. So like Yarok, if you guys don't know who he is elemental horror with death touch and lifelink. He's if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. He is black, blue, and green, and 2 colorless. He's a 3/5, so pretty good. This deck is just trying to maximize ETB effects and landfall triggers so that they trigger twice, because the landfall triggers an ability of if a land triggers the ability of a landfall creature or something like that, it'll trigger again if Yarok's on the field. So that's what we're trying to get a lot of value. So the only planeswalker we play is Nissa. She's 4 loyalty, and she has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Nissa. It's actually pretty nutty because I've been able to get like what is it, 1, 2, 3, like three loyalty, three counters on her in like 1 turn. Because there's cards in the deck that allow us to play lands, an extra land on our turn, to play a land from like a lot of ramp, so we're getting a lot of value. So I will probably play Nissa, and then I'll ult her on the same turn, and she can put a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto battlefield from your hand or graveyard with 2 1/1 counters on it. So less than or equal to the number of lands you control, so that if you have 8 lands, you can put an 8 drop for -5 for minusing 5 her. So it's honestly pretty broken. I'm always like, dang, she's kind of nutty. I'm just not gonna go through every single one. I'm assuming you guys know some of these cards, like Coiling Oracle. Just whenever it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. I'm gonna go kind of speed run through these, and I'll stop when I feel like these are the most impactful cards. So we have Rampaging Balos, 2 forest and 4 colorless. It has trample and it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 4/4 green beast creature token. So let's say 1 land drops, you create 1 4/4 green beast creature token. But if you have Yarok, you'd create 2 4/4 green beast tokens with each land. So it's actually pretty nutty, because on a good turn, you could probably make 2 4 6 4/4 green beast creature tokens. And this guy has trample as well, so it's pretty good. Also, another, I guess I haven't been able to use him, but he's a forest and he's a blue. He has flash and flying, and whenever he enters the battlefield, you draw a card. And he has death touch as long as you control at least 3 other snow permanents, which isn't hard because we play a lot of like snow covered forests, swamps, and islands. So like you're getting a lot of value, and this is cool because like if someone's swinging at you with like their command or something like this, flash it in, kill it. Baleful Strix, pretty good. Tatiova enters land. Whenever a land enters your control, you draw a card and gain 1 life. That would be doubled if Yarok. Fierce Empath, you search for a converted mana cost 6 or greater. So you're kind of looking for your win, or like a win con. So you probably search one of these other cards I'll show you right now. Uro, Tenants of Nature's Wrath. He enters, you can gain 3 life and draw a card. And then you may play a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, so that's kind of nutty. He immediately gets sacrificed, so then you can escape him. And then you get that ETB effect again. And then he's a 6/6 for that. This might be a cut. Hydrocrasis, I'm not really feeling it too well. I feel like it's not that good. Albaral Grazer, sometimes it comes in handy as like a blocker. Reclamation Stage, if Yarok's on the field, you can pop an artifact or enchantment twice. Shigeki, Visionary, he's pretty good. Sometimes I feel like he's a cut, but he's alright. This is one of the main win cons, Avengers Zendikar, 5 colorless, and then 2 forest. So when he enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. Let's say you have 10 lands. You would create 10 lands I control. You would create 10 tokens, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature you control. So if Yarok's on the field, that would be +2 on each plant. So this, and let me show you guys another win con. Let me see, not this one. This is kind of a cut. Right here, this card. So Crater Hoof, Bohemian, and him are basically the win con of a win con of the deck. So Avenger Zendikar, Crater Hoof. If you don't get board wipe, you kind of win the game because you're gonna double up all your effects because Crater Hoof and Yarok double up, and you're just gonna have like 20 10-10s or something like that, something disgusting. So this is pretty nasty. There is a tech card I want to add to this, so I might tell you guys about it later at the end. But this is a win con right here, Crater Hoof and Avenger. We're just skip the ones I did. They're not too impactful. Cultivator Colossus might be a cut because it's 7 mana and he has Trample. His toughness is pretty high most of the time, and whenever he enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, you keep drawing and keep adding more cards, and you repeat this process. So it could get pretty big. Muldrotha. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard, so it's good recycling. Roll Elemental. This actually won me the game once. So he has flying, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain control of target creature for as long as you control him. So you can snatch with a landfall. You can target 2 creatures if Yarok's on the field, or just 1 if he's just by himself. But pretty nice to clear the board and you have a whole bunch of swingers and blockers. Eternal Witness enters the battlefield. You may return target card, so any card from your graveyard to your hand. If Yarok's on the field, you can do it twice. Jade-like Splinker. This is probably going to be a cut right here. See, it enters the battlefield, it explores X times. To have it explore, reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a 1/1 counter on that creature, then put the card back or put it in your graveyard. So I don't feel like this is as impactful. I picked up Mana Gorger Hydra, I think so. I think that's the name of the card. I'm probably gonna swap it out for that. So we have Scut Swarm. This is another win con. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 green instant creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, instead create a token that's a copy of Scut Swarm instead. So at 6 or more lands, you're creating Scut Swarms, and on a good, like, on one turn I was able to make like 150 of these guys. So it was kind of disgusting. So I overwhelmed the board, and it was just like with Yarok, and it was a land. I played a land, I fetched the land, created another. I played a land, and with more than 6 lands, I created another Scut Swarm. Played another land that created that doubled up on the Scut Swarms, and they were just like, it was just doubling up, doubling up, doubling up. It was like 100 of these little things. So that's a win con. Undergrowth Champion. So he might be a cut because if damage would be dealt to Champion while it has a 1/1 counter on it, prevent that damage and remove a 1/1 counter. I guess so. It doesn't have Trample, so it's that might be a cut. And you put a 1/1 whenever a landfall. Ancient Green Warden. Reach. You may play lands from your graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So that's why it's good. It's another kind of Yarok-like effect. From Blue Druid, you sacrifice a land and you search up for up to 2 basic land cards. If Yarok's on the field, you sacrifice 2 lands and search up to 4 basic land cards. So you would get like 4 triggers. Obnixilus, the Fallen. So I've with him and Yarok on the field and like playing lands, I've pinged probably like 15 life to someone on one turn just from him. So he's a pretty good creature. Terrastodon. So he might be a cut. I feel like he's good removal, but like at 8 mana, it's like, geez. You may so when he enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. If Yarok's on the field, that's 6. It's kind of nutty actually. And then you would give him 3/3 green elephant creature tokens, which is just alright. Cyrus Stagnation. He has the Void hit. This card has no color. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player exiles the top 2 cards of his or her library, and you draw 2 cards. So this is just more draw power for me. So on a turn cycle, let's say my opponent, they each just play 1 land. They'll exile the top 2 cards, and I will draw 2 cards. So I will hit a 2, 4, 6 in 1 turn. That's if everyone plays a land, but it's pretty good card generator. SC. So you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Good card draw. Cavalier Thrones. Enters the battlefield, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put a land card from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your graveyard. When Cavalier Thrones and dies, you may exile it, and if you do, put another target card from your graveyard on top of your library, so it's a good recycler. Azusa, basically you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turn. Kind of nuts. Nissa, I haven't really gotten her on in a game, but she has landfall. When it enters a land enters your control, add 1 mana of any color. That would trigger twice with Yarok. Then if this is the second time this ability has resolved, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an alpha or an elemental card. Put that card into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. Pretty good. When Firehaven enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tab, then shuffle your library. Good ramp. Green Sleeves Mauro Sorcerer. So when his power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 3/3 green badger token. So pretty good. The Get Rog monster. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you sacrifice the Get Rog unless you sacrifice him or unless you sacrifice a land, and you may play an additional land of each in your turn. And whenever 1 more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you draw a card. So you're sacrificing to draw a card. Risen Reef, another good. This actually won me the game a couple times. You may play an additional land on each of your turns and play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card, which is kind of disgusting because you'll just be playing lands everywhere. Lotus Cobra, must. Sakura, Tribe Scout. This might be a cut, actually. I don't know. That's it for the creatures. So those are the creatures. Toxic Deluge to clear the board. Everyone has Finale of Devastation, so you search up. Hopefully you can use 10 mana and give everything 10/10 and haste. They don't have trample, but they have haste. So if you have this in like your Scud Swarm army, you just go nuts on them. They don't have trample, but you have enough bodies to just not be able to have them block it. So this is kind of a game ender right here. Victimize, you choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard, sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen card to the battlefield tapped. Awaken the Woods, create X/1/1 green forest dryad land creatures. They're affected by summoning sixes, but they're land, so they'll basically give you the landfall triggers. Harvest Season, you search up your land for X basic cards where X is the number of tap creatures you control. Pretty good. Double Major might be a cut. Copy target creature you control, except it isn't legendary if the spell is legendary. An offering you can't refuse is basically counter spell, counter target non-creature spell. Wash Away, counter target spell. So this is to negate commanders, or you can cleave it and then do all. Crop Rotation, sacrifice the land to add a land. There's a Land of the Dead or Field of the Dead, whatever. That's usually what we search for. Counterspell, good counterspell. Nature's Claim, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Veil Summer, it basically gives your permanents hexproof from blue and from black until the end of the turn. Good protection. Force of Vigor. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts on enchantments. The green removal spell. Harrow. Sacrifice a land and search up for 2 basic land cards and put them into play non-tapped. Assassin's Trophy, basically to destroy target permanent and opponent controls. And they may search for a basic land card, put it on their library. Virtue of Knowledge is basically a Yarok effect, so you guys want to add this one for sure, because it's if a permanent entering the battlefield causes the trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Dress Down has flash, and when Dress Down enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and creatures lose all abilities, and you sacrifice it. Exploration, a good enchantment, 1 green. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Arcane Signet, ramp, Conduit of Worlds, artifact that lets you play lands from your graveyard, and you can choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. And if you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast an additional spells this turn. It's pretty good. Altar of the Brood. With so many permanents entering the battlefield, you're going to be exiling a lot of... they're going to be milling a lot of cards into their graveyard. So it says whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So that would already be like 5-6 mills in a turn if you're good. This is more of a targeted Grafdigger's Cage. Creatures can't enter the battlefield from graveyards or library. Players can't cast cards in graveyards or libraries. This is basically targeting a member of my pod. It's a Atla player. Not letting him put dinos and shit. Whoops. It's family friendly. Soul Ring for ramp. Polluted Delta. Golgari Rot Farm. Bark Channel Pathway. Evolving Wilds. This is all just lands right here. Sacrifice it. You get 2 triggers, a landfall. Yavimaya Coast. Shipwreck Marsh. Reliquary Tower, Terramorphic Expanse, another one, and Myriad Landscape Breeding Pool, Zagoth Triumph, Verdant Catacombs, Field of the Dead. Basically, whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This also triggers off Yarok, so if another, basically, if you're putting more than 7 different lands after those, if you have 7 different lands, including a Field of the Dead, whatever is after 7, will trigger the 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and if Yarok's on the plate, you'll make 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, so another swarming effect. And then basically we play 1 forest. We play a lot of forests. Actually, let me separate these out. Sorry about that. So we play a Slither Boar Pathway. Let me do this real quick. Clearwater Pathway, a snow-covered swamp, a regular swamp. These are the Fallout ones. A Watery Grave. I have another one. I just don't want to be moving and switching it back, so this is a Watery Grave. Snow-covered forest, and forest. So we play 3 snow-covered swamps, 2 snow-covered islands, 3 snow-covered forest, 3 swamps, 3 islands, 4 forests. So yeah, that's a nice little Yarok deck profile. So overall, I'm having a lot of fun with this one. It is on the slower side because it takes a lot. You're ramping and you're hoping you're drawing into your lands, and sometimes I run into the problem when I don't have any more lands in my hand, and I'm kind of just like, dang, what do I do now? Like I'm kind of have to go for the win now, or else I'm gonna fall behind if my triggers aren't going. And if Yarok's not on the field, even if he's not on the field, I feel like you have so much like gas. So like all these creatures give you some good effects on ETB or on landfall triggers that even Yarok not even being there, you're just summoning like Avengers Zendikar. They're gonna have to deal with it if you have 10 lands. Like you're creating like these you just keep ramping up and keep summoning gross stuff that they're gonna have to deal with. So even if they kill your commander, it's not that the end of the world, and you're just gonna ramp. You're gonna pretty much ramp. Like that's it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.